Hi, Sally Walker here, your hormone and slow age expert. So let's talk calculating ideal body weight. So is there just one way to calculate this? Is there any way to calculate it? And what could be the different ways? So there's a lot of information in the article down there of the same name, calculating ideal body weight. And I've gone through the different ways. So we could start with that one called body mass index. So everybody looks at this and the doctors, this is their favorite way. But is that really a good way? What does that actually measure? Well, it measures your weight and it measures your height, but it does not measure what your weight is composed of. So it doesn't take into consideration that you possibly could be a bodybuilder and have enormous amounts of muscle and not very much fat. But because you weigh a lot, so the higher you weigh, the higher your BMI would be. But if your weight is composed of lots of muscle and not fat tissue, is that then unhealthy? So we really need to know what the weight is composed of. So body mass index is still pretty much standard within the medical world, but it is going a little bit out of fashion, or at least you need to establish more about what the weight is composed of if you're going to use body mass index. So there's things like, when I first qualified as a physio, we always used to do weight and height guide. So your height in centimetres or feet in inches or inches, and how much you should be weighing for that height. That's pretty common sense, isn't it? And that's a pretty good way to do it as such. But again, it just doesn't tell you what your weight is composed of. But it's a quick and easy way. There are loads of tables all over the internet where you can check your height and see what it is that you should be weighing. So in the article, I've given you a link to where you could look at your height to find out where your weight should be somewhere between. So we could do that, couldn't we? Then we can start measuring waist sizes, yeah? So waist sizes are quite good because they give an indication of how much fat might be around the waist. So this visceral fat especially. So having a waist size which is large could indicate that there is visceral fat. So again, it doesn't give you the exact measurement of your fat percentage or muscle, etc., but it gives a better maybe indication than the BMI. And that's easy to do, isn't it? So have a little look at the article there and you'll see what your waist should be measuring, or what it shouldn't be measuring, at least, that kind of thing, yeah? So the Danes have one as well, which I quite like, and this only really works in centimetres and kilos, and it only really works for men, okay? So what do they do here? So, well, you measure your height in centimetres. So if you're a male and you're measuring 188 centimetres, you then deduct 100 from the 188, and that will give you 88. And that is roughly what your weight should be in kilos. So that's a quick way to do it, isn't it? But again, it doesn't tell you, what your kilos are composed of as such. So how much fat, how much muscle, etc. But, quick and little easy ways to do it. Not quite so effective for a lady. We possibly need to deduct 105 or maybe 110. So it's best for the boys. And as I said, it's centimetres and kilos where it works, and not feet and inches and pounds and stones and things like that. It's all down there in the information. My favourite way. So let's talk about that. And this is these body composition analyzers. So these are little fancy machines where you stand up onto the scale, if you like. It's going to weigh you, but the scale has little metal plates that you stand on, and there will be this electricity as such sent through you. You don't feel it, but what it does is it measures impedance, so it measures resistance, if you like, and bone tissue, muscle tissue, fat tissue, water will all have different types of resistance or impedance, and so it will give you an idea, a very good idea, of how much of your weight is fat, muscle, bone, and how well hydrated you are. Now, this is my favorite way of doing it. It's not 100% accurate, but it is pretty close. It's pretty good. It gives you an indication. And it could be very good as your start numbers. You're going to now be on a course. You're going to be doing some diet and exercise changes, some sleep changes, etc. And you want to see how this impacts your weight and what your weight is composed of. So this is a good thing to do. And it's my favourite. Now, if you live here on Lanzarote, I have one of these machines. So you're very welcome to contact me on sw@sally-walker.com, and then we can set up a time for you to come and stand on my little machine and get you measured, and I will then go through the results with you and give you a little bit of a plan of what you need to be looking at, what changes you need to do. And this will be different from person to person. So you're very welcome to do this. And there's a link further down you can click on to contact me if you'd like to do it. I think it's a pretty good way of doing it. There are other more expensive ways, technical ways to establish fat percentage, but they don't then tell you what your muscle is. So these machines are good. So body composition analyzer or body impedance, they're really good. I like these very much. Anyway, have a little look at the article down there because there's way more information. So you can do all different kinds of little tests. You can weigh yourself and take your height and take your waist and take your hips. And this will give you a quick idea of is your weight ideal? But as I said, to really know if it's ideal, we need to know what it's composed of. So you want to start checking your fat percentage and your muscle mass and your bone mass, etc. And I can help with that, or I'm pretty sure at your local gym you will be able to get this information as well. Happy hormones, happy life.